This is really complicated because we don't live in biomes anymore. We live in urban concrete jungles. Most of the world's population now resides in cities, in which people from different cultures, so-called older cultures, are constantly interacting and moving around from city to city, from place to place. And so these ideas of the plain dwellers and the mountain dwellers and the seaside dwellers sort of don't hold anymore. The question always is that in the concrete jungle, can we use the same old principles or not? And then add that to this interconnected world that we live in, and you start wondering whether there is a possibility of a cultural biome actually being a thing. Is it a thing? Can we even define boundaries around our cultures anymore inside cities, inside the concrete jungle, and the whole world being interconnected through these networks of people and things? It's almost as if there is no geography anymore. It's all virtual. So if the cultural boundaries are all virtual, then where do I find these clean data sets? And where do we draw the boundary between one cultural set and another cultural set, right? So is there a boundary possible? And that brings me to what's been going on in the US elections and what we've seen with algorithms playing games with people. And this is really basic because remember, these are domain-specific intelligences, so they can't mess with your whole life, but they can definitely mess with one part of your life, which is what we saw in the echo chamber effect in the last election. Now, this is one of the things that in 2016 I was reflecting on. I just thought it was relevant to share here, that in the center you find the echo chamber from the Facebook algorithm, and what it did was it kind of made people's attitudes even more solidified. And now we know that it was also some ads that were being placed very strategically in certain ways. So the echo chamber had its own effect. Now, if people were looking at opposing news spaces, if they were looking at adjacent news spaces, and if they were looking at wider spectrum of friends' opinions, so that could never happen on Facebook, that would always happen on another medium like Twitter. So this would have been the way where you could have got a more balanced view from the echo chamber, but it didn't happen and it doesn't happen. I think the echo chamber reflects the worst of who we are as humans. We kind of formulate these little cliques and communities around our ideas and beliefs, and we stay there. Now imagine that in that weird echo chamber space, there were artificial intelligent actors in there as well. So what data set would the artificial intelligent actors get? The same stuff within that echo chamber. So the question is that, remember the question of benign augmentation. I have augmented my intelligence, but my intelligence is not really expanded my worldview. It's just supplementing, it's providing me more reinforcement of the same worldview, which may or may not be problematic depending on where you are in the spectrum of ideas. I want to talk about 3 different ways of looking at artificial intelligence before I open up the floor for discussion. The first one is this film that's out there. You should go and watch it. I read the book. It's fantastic. It's called Victoria and Abdul, and it's this story of 81-year-old Queen Victoria, her humble servant Abdul, who comes from India. He's brought in to be her servant, and he becomes her friend. And the establishment doesn't like it because she's now befriended a young guy who's 20-something, she's 80-something. They try to drive her out because they claim that she's senile. She says, I may be this, but I'm not senile. And that friendship became a big bone of contention in the British household. Now imagine that you are Victoria and your artificial intelligent assistant is Abdul. Completely different worlds. They're coming from different spaces. This is a young guy who barely speaks English, brought out of India, and this is a real story. This is not fiction. Brought out of India into the royal household, and he teaches her his language, and she teaches him the ways of the court, and they become friends. So one of the views, and we can take a poll on this after I'm done, is that one of the views is that these assistants could be like friends from another place. So a friend who is respectful and yet disagrees respectfully, and so enlarges your worldview, allows you to grow cognitively and look at things from a different perspective, almost like what Chris Chopik is to me, right? Chris, we're from completely different. Exactly, we're from completely different worlds, and yet we find places where we learn from each other. Okay, the other one is, what if it's master-slave? No visual here. Being being respectful. Thank you. I've taken it out. To be respectful to the idea that there are people who are descendants from either of these two, and I don't want to disrespect either of the two in this discussion, but it's an important discussion to have. That slaves were a commodity that almost did not have human moral value in that period of time, and they were bought and sold, and yet they delivered some service. They provided some service to the master, and they were disposable. So on the way they were disposable, and when they arrived they were disposable, and so on. So is it that these artificial intelligent assistants are going to be our slaves, which are disposable? So when you're done, I don't want this assistant anymore, bonk, it's over, right? Or are they going to be like your pets, where definitely pets have value? They're very close to us. They provide comfort. They provide emotional support. But the question of sentience always remains. In legal terms, in Canada, pets are still property. So they're not sentient beings as yet, legally. But they're definitely sapient. In sapient terms, we mean that they can feel and they have emotions. We know that. They respond to our emotions. But do they have the same intellectual capability to take what they've learned and apply it to a different domain? No, they don't. So they can learn one kind of behavior, but is that a generalized intelligence? Generally speaking, scientists would say no. So these are three different perspectives that I would like to open up for discussion. The intelligent servant who comes from a different place and allows us to look at life differently. A completely commodified piece of machine who, even using the word who is problematic, which does not have any value and can be disposed of. And an emotional support, but which does not have any human-like intelligence, but which we know has an emotional connection to us, to the point where the loss of this thing can affect us emotionally as well. So in philosophy, there's a problem. It's called the zombie problems, right? So how would you react to a being which looked exactly like yourself, but which was not human? That's called the zombie problem. How would you react to it? So there's another one of you out there who does not have any intelligence, does not feel anything, walks around like a zombie, but does not have any other qualities, but looks exactly like yourself. Now let me reverse the zombie problem for today's discussion. So here's a being that is exactly like you, but does not have a body, right? Because this being is learning from you all the time. It's intelligent, it's learning, it's picking up what you like, what you don't like, it's throwing questions to you, giving it answers, so it becomes like you. It's like another you, but it has no physical form. How do you react to that? So, two questions open. The first one is, which one do you think applies? Or is there one that I've missed, and is there something that we can add to? And the other thing is the reverse zombie that Is it only about the body that makes something human, the physical form? And if we take away the form, does that take away its being human? Because it is only a matter of time before the machines start to act and think like us. That is going to happen. But whether it is in robotic form, i.e. looks like, and does that change anything? Does making Sophia a citizen of a country change the fact that it is a robot? Does it suddenly become capable of having a passport and having agency and getting on flights and showing people a passport and saying, I wish to go from point A to B? How does that change? Does it change anything in your head? Because that's the world that we live in now. So interesting questions, completely open for, yeah.